People go missing every day, whether intentionally or as a result of more sinister or tragic means, and unfortunately many people who vanish under mysterious circumstances are never seen or heard from again. Although police and search parties do their best to hunt for clues that could offer closure to the families or justice for the victims, sometimes answers are not found until much later, and occasionally cases turn cold and remain unsolved to this day. So today, here at Unexplained Mysteries, we will be looking at 3 instances of strange or mysterious disappearances and the circumstances surrounding their cases. Swiss couple missing for 75 years, found in melting Alps glacier. Marceline and Francine Dumoulin were ordinary parents who had made ordinary lives for themselves in Switzerland. In 1942, they were 40 and 37 years old, respectively, and had made a comfortable home in the Swiss Alps with their 7 children. Marceline was a shoemaker and his wife Francine worked as a teacher at the local school. They kept several cows in a nearby meadow that Marceline took care of, as Francine was usually pregnant and was not able to clamber through the steep, snow-laden hills and valleys that made up the mountainous glacial region where they lived. However, on August 15, 1942, Francine went with Marceline on a rare trip to help milk the cows in a meadow above Chandelin in the Valais canton. It was a beautiful day, and the couple were happy as they set off towards the valley. Tragically, the day ended on a much darker note when the couple did not return from their chores. Their children, family, and neighbours searched for them while the oldest sibling, Monique, cared for her 6 siblings. However, as days passed and there was no trace of Marceline and Francine, the children were eventually split up and raised by other family members, although they never stopped hoping that one day their parents might be found. "We spent our whole lives looking for them without stopping. We thought that we could give them the funeral they deserved one day," said their youngest daughter. Yet the days turned into weeks, and the weeks turned into years, and after decades, hope was all but lost. Yet in 2017, 75 years after that fateful day, 2 bodies were discovered frozen 8,600 feet up in the Saint Florent Glacier by a worker performing maintenance on a ski lift above the Les Diablerets resort. The bodies were lying extremely near each other and had been so perfectly preserved in the glacier through the years that their 1940s-era clothes were easily distinguishable. Many of their possessions were also found nearby in a similarly preserved state, including their clothes, hiking boots, a hat, backpacks, a bottle, a book, and a watch. The police were notified and a helicopter arrived to remove the entire block of ice surrounding the remains, so that they could be removed without any destruction to the preserved bodies. DNA tests were performed that immediately confirmed what was already suspected. The bodies in the glacier were those of Marceline and Francine Dumoulin. Those in charge of excavating and examining the bodies for burial suspect that the unfortunate couple likely fell while climbing the treacherous glacial terrain and slipped into a crevasse where their bodies were frozen for decades in the cold, dry conditions of the Alps. The Saint Florent Glacier where the bodies were found is currently receding at a rate of about 1 meter to 1.5 meters per year due to the warmer weather, and this rapid shrinking finally uncovered the bodies that had been lying beneath the hard-packed ice for 3/4 of a century, solving a cold case that had long been given up on. The Dumoulin case is not the first one to have been solved by global warming either. National Geographic has reported that since 1925, 280 people have gone into the Alps and never returned, and as the ice shelf begins to shrink, some of these bodies have been able to be recovered after decades. As for the Dumoulins, their remaining children are relieved to finally have some answers. I can say that after 75 years of waiting, this news gives me a deep sense of calm. For the funeral, I will not wear black. I think that white would be more appropriate. It represents hope, which I never lost, reports their youngest daughter, now in her 80s, and at long last, she can finally have some closure. Ireland's Vanishing Triangle. When multiple women go missing from the same general area, police immediately begin to suspect a serial maniac and start hunting for clues that might lead them to the bodies. However, the disappearances of 8 girls within an 80-mile radius of Dublin Island were so mysterious and strange, with no bodies or crime scenes ever found, that police were never able to determine what had happened to the women, causing the area to be dubbed the Vanishing Triangle, after the similarly mysterious Bermuda Triangle, due to the fact that it really appeared as though the girls had simply vanished from the face of the earth. Annie McCarrick, Eva Brennan, Imelda Keenan, Jojo Dullard, Kira Breen, Fiona Pender, Fiona Sinnott, and Deirdre Jacob all went missing around Dublin between 1993 and 1998, and police were never able to find any conclusive evidence that foul play had occurred, or even a rational explanation as to what had happened. Many girls disappear as they walk through busy streets, and Deirdre Jacob was confirmed to have been seen mere yards from her parents' house, although she never arrived. However, there have been signs that pointed to something more menacing than a simple Bermuda Triangle phenomenon. A small wooden cross with Fiona Pender's name on it was discovered near the Slieve Bloom Mountains in 2008, leading some to believe that she was buried somewhere nearby. Fiona Sinnott's personal belongings were missing from her apartment and were later found in trash bags dumped in a farmer's field, as though whoever put them there wanted to create the appearance that Fiona had left intentionally. Convicted criminal Larry Murphy also lived in the vicinity of several of the girls' last known locations, but police were never able to connect him to the disappearances, although it is still widely thought that he had something to do with at least a few of the cases. The similarity of the cases also points to a serial maniac, as all of the women were young and mysteriously vanished, indicating that if they were abducted, that the attacker likely used the same methods. However, over 2 decades later, there have still been no clues that can help answer questions about the tragic and mysterious disappearances that left families with no closure or answers about their loved ones, and no justice for the 8 girls who were never found. Annette Sayers' disappearance. On the morning of October 4th, 1988, 11-year-old Annette Sayers was seen at approximately 7 a.m. standing with her dog at the school bus stop in Mount Holly, South Carolina. This was the last time that she was ever seen. When her stepfather Steve Malinowski returned to their home on the grounds of Mount Holly Plantation, where he worked as a caretaker, and realized that Annette had not returned from school, she was reported missing. A search of the grounds and the bus stop revealed no clues, except for a hastily penciled note that read, "Dad, Mama came back. Give the boys a hug." That was determined by handwriting experts to have indeed been written by Annette. The strangest part of the disappearance lies in the fact that Annette went missing from the same area that her mother, Karina Malinowski, went missing from almost a year earlier. Karina had reportedly left the cabin where they lived after a row with Steve. When her boss came to check on her after she did not show up for work, he found her car parked at the plantation entrance next to the bus stop. She was never seen or heard from again, and it was presumed that she took a bus and left the family. However, Annette's disappearance and note shed new light on the situation. Although no other clues were ever found, some think that Karina, knowing that Annette would be waiting at the bus stop, came and took her daughter. Although there are those that have more sinister theories. Steve and Karina were known to have frequent arguments, and it was said by one of their children that Steve battled various addictions. So some think that Karina may have lost her life as a result of a fight gone wrong, and that Annette knew that her mother had not really walked off, leaving Steve feeling as though he had no choice but to make her write the note and then take her out too. Steve was a less than tender father figure, and less than a year after Annette's disappearance, he left South Carolina and moved to Florida, giving up the 2 sons that he had with Karina for adoption. Police working the case do not believe that Annette was taken by her mother and have listed the case as a non-family abduction, continuing to exhaust all possibilities surrounding the disappearance of the young girl. Since that fateful day, police have looked into several leads, but there have been no other clues and the case eventually went cold, leaving locals wondering whether it was simply a matter of a mother running away and then returning for her child, or if a criminal had been living among them. But what do you make of these tragic stories? Be sure to let us know your thoughts in the comment section below and help us by growing this community while working to solve these unexplained mysteries. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to subscribe for more videos.